My name is Neil O'Driscoll, as Tomás said, and thanks everyone for attending. I was moving fairly quickly, giving a demo of the system, and I'll take questions at the end because there's an awful lot of functionality on Submit that I won't have time to show you today. So if you want to follow up with myself or Tomás after the meeting, feel free with questions, or we can do one-on-one demos or send you documentation or anything that you need. The background to Submit.com, we're based in Cork. We've been around since 2013, so we've been providing grant management software to local government and national government since 2013. Today I'm going to look at grant management, but you can use Submit.com for any kind of data gathering, whether it be applications, permits, surveys, collecting payments, feedback forms, and so on. I'm going to use the Built Heritage Investment Scheme as an example today for no reason, only that I have to dive into a particular scheme and show you workflows to do with that. But the same workflows that I show you today could be just as applicable to any scheme in your own area, because what I'll be basically showing you is building and sharing of a form, triage of applications as they come in, that's checking for completeness, checking for eligibility, collaboration with the applicants. Then you might be managing letters of offer, sending drawdown requests out to candidates where they upload invoices, receipts, and so on. And these workflows that I go through today are hypothetical. Submit is incredibly flexible. So what we do when we set you up first is we'll probably create a template form for your first scheme. We'll sit down with you and show you how to tweak that. So not just the form itself, but the back-end workflows associated with it. And we've already worked with every local authority in Ireland, whether directly via community grants, permits, and so on, or via the LGMA with all the COVID grants, Restart and SBASC, or indirectly via your local enterprise office. So there's loads of references available, and if anyone here wants any references before going any further, please drop either myself or Tomás a line. Right, this is my final slide because I'm keen to get into actually show you the software. But just to give you a kind of a picture of where I want to go and what Submit provides. First thing we provide, I suppose, is intuitive forms. So whatever the device, whether it's mobile, desktop, laptop, tablet, you've a lovely layout, one question per page, and very easy and intuitive for candidates to complete an application. You've got very flexible workflows. So whatever stages of assessment you have, you can get into the platform. Whether it's using tags to mark the stages of an assessment, we're marking things as being eligible or ineligible in the wrong local authority area and so on, awaiting further information, or whether it's using phases for apply, accept, drawdown 1, drawdown 2, drawdown 3, in the cases where you have multi-phase drawdowns. Secure evaluation means basically there's multiple tools within the platform to evaluate applicants, whether it's tags, as I mentioned, whether it's using score bars to implement an assessment rubric, or whether it's securely sharing applications with an assessment panel. Sometimes local authorities use external assessment panels to assess their grant applications. And then there's communication as a key part of Submit with a built-in mailbox, which acts as a messaging hub that you and your team can access. So you can send individual messages to applicants, or you can send group messages to certain cohorts of applicants. And then I'll go through a bit of reporting, graphs, maps, exportable spreadsheets, and so on. And it's not on this slide, but it's equally important. If I have time at the end, I'll touch on GDPR data protection. We're the data controller we're the data processor rather for all our customers, and you're the data controller. We've no right to do anything with your data apart from process it on your behalf. And in case I don't catch up with this at the end, all our data is hosted in the European Economic Area in Ireland on AWS, and your data is secure and you can control access and retention in line with your policies. So as I said, I'll do a quick walkthrough of the candidate experience first. So when you sign up with Submit.com, we'll customize a domain for you. I have a very generic county council logo up in the top left here, background images, fonts, font colors, color schemes, and so on to match your own website. You can create forms on it, and there's a public forms page where you can list all your forms. You can categorize these forms, so it's very easy for candidates to find forms. If you want to find your biodiversity forms, you can click there. If you want to find your heritage forms, you can click there, and so on. Now, as I said, I'm going to use the Built Heritage Investment Scheme as just an example for this demo. So as well as having a landing page here called the public forms page that you can link to your website, you can have an individual landing page for each scheme. Okay, and this is more than likely the link, you'd be putting a link to this page on your own website. So candidate goes to your website, clicks, I want to apply for the Built Heritage Investment Scheme. They land on this page and they can read all about it. So you put whatever content you want on this page. You can include links to guidance documents and so on. And when a candidate is ready, they click on the apply button. Now, the first thing that a candidate will do is when they click on apply is they'll sign in or register, and then they'll be asked to accept your privacy statement. Again, as I said, you're the data controller. So we have a timestamp log of who accepts your privacy statement. Okay. I'm going to skip the sign-in piece for speed and the demo. I'm going to go straight to the form. Right, so when you're in the form, there's one question per page, as I said in the intro. And the beauty about that is twofold. Firstly, it's lovely on mobile. And secondly, as soon as you answer a question, the data is saved. So if I type in sample data here, click next, my data is saved. I'm not going to go through every question on this form, but I'm going to just show you a couple of slightly interesting ones. If I scroll down here, again, you can answer the questions in any order you want. I go into question 13 as an example. It's yes, no question. And notice on the left-hand side, my navigation pane goes from question 13 to question 14. If I say yes to that, and click next, goes to 13.1. 13A1 because I chose answer A on question 13, a child question. And this is to just show you how you can build in branch logic. And what this can do when you're digitizing a paper form, it can simplify it massively. So on a paper form, you often have to present questions to a candidate that don't apply to them. Whereas when you digitize it with Submit, you can shorten complex forms by not displaying questions that are irrelevant to the applicant. Go down to question 25 here, just to show you an upload question. Most grant applications will require documents, images, and so on. And we have in Submit, you'll have an upload limit of 300 megabytes per file, which is huge to the uninitiated. You'll never be short of space on Submit.com. You can request as many uploads as you want as part of any application. And another important thing about Submit.com that is a huge time saver for local authorities is you can ensure that all the relevant uploads are provided. You ask for an upload, you set it as a required question. And if a candidate tries to submit their application without providing that upload, it stays in draft. It bounces back to that question and tells them you need to answer this question in order to submit your application. And that cuts out a huge amount of legwork in chasing missing documentation. So, upload photos which will illustrate the project before works commence. Choose my file, I'll put up my image, choose another file, put up my other image, and so on. Another interesting question type is I'll go back to question 21 here, a table type question. So you can build in spreadsheets into your application. So for example, if I have a very basic one here with costs, the total costs of the thing. And you can see as I work through it, my totals are auto-calculating. Again, any arithmetic operators can be built into tables. I could calculate my VAT amounts if I wanted. And I can drag data from one table into the next to save you the trouble of having to check the sums, basically, on these tables. So anytime you're looking for costs, projections, anything like that, instead of asking for an uploaded file, you can ask them to complete an online table. And it also allows you to generate more meaningful reports than you would have if you have just a dumb document attached to an application. And lastly, before I finish on the candidate side, you've got a signature type question. Most forms require a signature at the end. You'll note that there's it can pull in dynamic data into this. So if I had provided, again, you can pull in the amount they're applying for, whatever others, any answer to any question on the form can be populated into another question in order to personalize things like declarations. The way the signature works is if you know how to spell your name, you type your name, and it comes up in a cursive font. Now, when a candidate submits their application, they get an authentication token emailed to them to validate their signature. These signatures have been used everywhere from government departments down to other local authorities, to local enterprise offices, Enterprise Ireland, state and semi-state bodies across the board. If I try to submit my application after signing it and I haven't answered all the required questions, it won't send the authentication token. It will bounce back to the required question that I haven't answered, make me answer that before I sign, because you don't want somebody signing for an incomplete document. I can save and quit at any time. If I submit, it checks that I've answered all the questions. I haven't uploaded my sitemap, so I have to go back to that. So again, I have to complete the required questions, give you the documents you need before I can submit my application. I'm going to save that as a draft for now. And again, you can continue it at any time. You can build in automatic emails into the platform as well. There's sensible defaults built in. So when I've saved a draft, I'll get an email saying, you have saved a draft for the Built Heritage Investment Scheme. Click here to continue. So again, nobody will lose where they are. It's a reminder in their inbox to complete their application. There's a load of settings that I'll get to later. You can see here that I can continue that application, or I can apply for a new application. People who are familiar with the Built Heritage Investment Scheme might be complaining about that in their head, saying, we want to limit it to one application. And you can do that with the settings on the form. So by allowing multiple applications or not. But that's my quick run through of the candidate side. It's a form. We have a huge variety of questions, more than you'll find on most form providers. But I really want to get into the admin side, which is showing you how the applications look, and how you manage them, how you triage them, and so on. So I'm going to now jump to my dashboard, and this is me sitting in a local authority office working on applications as they come in. Right, so when I go in, I go to my dashboard, and this gives me a summary view of upcoming deadlines, of where my latest applications across all schemes were, who my latest people that registered were, and so on. But what I'm going to do first of all is give you a quick intro to the team, and these are the roles within the local authority that can manage applications. And there are two main staff roles that you'll be using: team leaders and team members. I'm logged in as a team leader at the moment, which means I can do everything on the site. I can see all the schemes, I can see applications for all the schemes, I can create accounts for my colleagues, manage their permissions, and so on. A team member, if I want to create a team member, creating any account, I put in a first name, last name, email address, hit the green button, they get a link to create a password. I would have defaults set on the platform of what their permissions are, but I can also create permission profiles, and particularly in some of our customers that are local authorities that have large numbers of staff using Submit across multiple departments, you can create permission profiles. So permission profiles are basically, you give a title, for example, a senior user within a department, and you can set the permissions of this type of user. I can then apply that permission profile to any team member on the platform, just like you might have a read-only account. This might be, you might have somebody in admin that needs to be able to field questions from an applicant, but doesn't want to edit or change or interact with the platform at all, apart from reading and speaking to somebody on the phone about their application, or anything in between. You can make as many profiles as you want. So here are two team members, colleagues that I have created earlier. And if I want to say Tim Marr is a senior user within department, it's that easy to apply the profiles to him. If I want to give read-only permission to Tina Meehan, I do that. Okay, I'm going to jump into the schemes. So, as I said, I'm a team leader, so I can see every scheme on the platform. I can search and filter them. I can search by order them. I can search by, say, if I just want to look at the heritage grants, and so on. Team members can only see schemes that they have been added to. So this allows you to split your platform. You might have multiple departments using this in lots of local authorities. The people in roads just need to see the roads forms. The people in heritage only need to see the heritage forms, etc. So the Built Heritage Investment Scheme, as I said, I'll use as an example. And I'm just going to pause on this screen for a second, and you can see that I have 9 applications in total, 7 of which are complete, 2 of which are draft. I can see that I have a budget set for this scheme of 250,000 euros. I can see that I have already awarded 14,000 euros, and that means that I have 236,000 euros remaining. So I'll come to that in a minute when I'm managing an individual application. Every time you create a new form or a new scheme in the system, it automatically generates a link. So this is how you share this link, copy it to your clipboard, share it on social media, share it on your website, and that's how you publicize the forms. It also generates a QR code, and that also brings you to the same place as the link, the landing page for this specific form. While I'm still here, I'll notice that I have a drop down here: phase 1, application; phase 2, acceptance; phase 3, claim; and phase 4, claim 2. You can add as many phases to an application as you want, and I'll come back to that later. But in short, first of all, candidate applies, then you decide where you want to send them. Each phase is a separate online form, effectively, but they're all tied together into one group, so you can track an applicant right through the process from start to finish. I'm going to go in and look at the complete applications. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just do a little bit of triage, pretend I'm looking at a specific application, and I'm going to go through some particular issues that arise when a candidate submits an application. It might be you chasing in missing data or inaccurate data. It might be an email coming in from the candidate to ask you about their application and so on. So, okay, you've various views here that I'm not going to waste too much time on. You can change from tile views to list views. Each user can have their own views. If the screen is blinding you, you can change to night mode and so on. Dark mode, rather. And that's, every user can set their own preferences like that. Right, I'm going to imagine that Kieran O'Driscoll rings me up about his application. He has a question to ask, and I want to find his application. Type his name. There's his application. Kieran has some question. I can view his application. So his application is here, and the application, very quick to find an application. So somebody rings you, somebody contacts you, you can put your finger on his data straight away. So he's doing some work on a facade of a church, and he asks you, he's in a panic, and he says, did I upload images with that? You say, no problem, I'll check that out for you. You scroll down. Yeah, here are his images. Here's his site plan. And you can field his questions. If he says, I'm after changing my phone number, can you update it for me? You can say, no problem. Again, this is permission dependent. You might not grant this permission to every team member, but me as a team leader, I can edit his application. So I can go up to the top, applicant details, and I can update any detail within the form. Now there's a full timestamp log kept of the old value, the new value, who made the edit and when it happened within Submit.com. But I'd always recommend that if you make an edit to an application, you make a comment to explain that Kieran asked you to change it. Now the default here is set to team only. That's myself and my colleagues within the local authority can see these comments. But you can, it's a very useful place to be making kind of, it's as a kind of a CRM related to the application. You can track the application, comment on any interactions you have with the candidate in that section. I'm going to go through a few more hypotheticals here. You'll see that I have two tags on this: ready for assessment and eligible. Now, if I go back to all my applications and I get rid of my schemes, I have the Kieran search on there. So on my applications here, you'll notice that I have tags on some of them: ready for assessment, eligible, approved on Joe Kelly, similar on Steve Barron. I've ready for assessment and eligible on Kieran, but other ones I don't have any tags on. Now, tags are incredibly powerful tools within Submit.com. You can build a separate library of tags for each form that you have. You can use these to mark stages of a workflow that an application goes through. And every scheme you have will be different. And indeed, the same scheme within different local authorities may be different. But a typical one would be, if I go through Katie Murphy here. So I'm going to go manage her application. Okay, and I don't even have to open it to do this. I can say, after reading her application, I can put on tags. I can say, yeah, she's ready for assessment. Her application is complete. Then I want to go through the eligibility criteria. You can, if you want, build in an office use only section on this. So if I go into view her application, go into my office use only, I have a few checklist questions here. Again, this is completely customizable. So if I want to go through Katie's application, I can answer a set of questions that you've preset for yourself to answer. And this won't be seen by the candidate. Is the property in the local authority area? Yes. Is the property, which of the following one applies? Is it work to a protected structure? And you work through this checklist to see, does the application meet your criteria for funding? Another kind of eligibility check you might do, you might want to use score bars on some schemes, not all maybe. So on this one, I've built in a few different score bars. You can give them titles, and for the significance of the structure, the efficacy of the works, the quality of the methodology, the employment benefits, and so on. And as you see, it automatically calculates an average. And this applies whether it's one person assessing it or multiple people assessing it. And if you notice on my office use only section, I had a question here. And again, this is purely hypothetical. Is the total score greater than 75%? So you may have a scenario where you send off an application that's ready for assessment to a panel of reviewers, they score it, and then it comes back to you to administer the grant or not. In this case, no. It's not greater than 75% because my total score on Katie Murphy was 64%. Okay, so I'd be saying no, she's not. It's not possible to fund Katie. So I'm going to put on a tag saying she's eligible, yes, but I'm going to put on a tag saying rejected. So these are all hypothetical ways of you managing an application through a workflow: scoring, tagging, office use only sections, or any combination of those. Imagine I went through the same with Stephen Burke here, and I'm just going to put on that he is ready for assessment, he goes through the process, he's eligible, and he's approved for funding. What happens next? So I'd want to say how much is he approved for? Steve Burke. There's a grant tracking section here, and you can log the amount that you have awarded. So I'm going to award him €7,500. And you can see when I award him monies, it automatically updates based on your budget that you have set for the scheme, what you have awarded, and what's remaining. And this is another problem that we hear back from local authorities a lot. When they're managing a pot of money, they want to see in real time how much have they left, because otherwise you get, especially where you have high volumes of applicants, you go through them and you're assigning monies, and that your pot is getting smaller and you have nothing left at the end for a very good application. The next thing you might do to him, once you've awarded money, you need to obviously communicate that with Steve. So if I might want to invite him to the next stage. And this is where phases come in that I touched on at the start. If I click on invite, I might have a phase called acceptance. So on this, I've pre-written a template. Dear Steve, your application has been approved in accordance with the attached letter of approval. Now, this would be the old-fashioned way of doing it, where I attach a document to my email, which they then upload as part of the acceptance phase. They sign it and upload it. You can digitize it even further and do the entire acceptance online without any printing or signing. You can digitally sign if you're happy with that. So in this case, I'd attach my letter of offer and I'd send my invitation. You can see a little badge on Stephen that he's been invited to the next phase. He gets a link, and the link brings him to another online form. Question 1 will be something along the lines of, please upload your signed letter of approval. Question 2 might be to provide his bank details, and question 3 might be some kind of a declaration that he's going to abide by the terms of the scheme. If I go back up to Joe Kelly here, and I view his application. He's got 3 phases complete. The application phase, which you're looking at here, which is his original application form. If I go into the next phase, the acceptance, his letter of approval signed, his bank details, and his bank statement to validate his bank details, and another signature. I then invite him from, once you're happy that you've got all of that information in the acceptance phase, you can invite him through to the first drawdown phase. Again, Joe Kelly has completed a first claim. And typically, again, this is completely flexible depending on your needs. We build the forms with you, you build your own forms, and you ask what you need to ask. So on this, it says, please complete the schedule of expenditure. He puts in his 2 items with the invoice numbers. He then uploads the associated invoices and signs to declare that everything has been paid for in full. That's a typical flow.
Neil, could I just stop you there if you don't mind? Yeah, because I'm just conscious you're about 30 minutes gone. Just maybe on the other side, the attendees, Tomás Mulcahy here again. Just on the attendee side, anybody have any questions to ask on what you've seen? What you've seen up to now? Anybody want to ask any questions? Because I have 1 or 2 that have come through my system here.
Can I ask a question, please?
Oh, you can, of course. Yeah,
right.
Perfect.
Sharon McDonald here from Cork City Council. If you have, what can typically happen is you have a budget, you have a number of applications, and having gone through the process of reviewing them, you might decide, I want to see if I can get a few more, capture a few more. If I reduce, let's say, the amount that everyone has by 5%, how many more applicants can I capture? So can you manipulate everything kind of across the board rather than just looking at each one individually? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you not really. You can, but I get exactly what you're saying, and it's something that's on our roadmap to do, because that's a very common issue that you.
Yeah.
But you can export everything as a CSV and open it with Excel and manipulate it there.
Okay.
So once you go through your first, like, it's kind of often an iterative process, as you say. Once you go through the first pass, you can award all your grants and realize, I'm gone over budget. I've got a negative figure remaining of my budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can export it to Excel, manipulate it there, and you have to adjust the drawdowns, the awards individually then. But it's something that we have in mind to build next year.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Neil, just a question that's coming in, because up to now you've mentioned about the phases and the acceptance and drawdown. Just a question that has come through, because it's been brought up over the last couple of weeks, and somebody's bringing it to government in terms of the grants and the funds, that they're just a once-off payment that's made. Can this be done on stage payments? You mentioned phases. Is that a strength of the Submit platform?
100%, Tomás. And I think the best way to show you this is if I go into the edit view of the Built Heritage Investment Scheme. So if I go to Options, Edit, and this is how you build the form. So within the edit view of the form, you have an overview where you put all the information that you saw on the landing page at the start. You have your questions on the form. Again, I'm in phase 1 application here. You have the various settings and so on. You have the team who can access it. But I can add as many phases as I want. So at the moment on this, application, acceptance, claim 2, I can add claim 3, claim 4, claim 5. So here I'm going to add one more phase. I'm going to call it claim 3. And I'm going to use claim 2 as a template. Anytime you're making a new form, you can use a previous form or a previous phase as a template. And that's how you manage multiple payments, staged payments, because everything will be kind of pretty linear. Somebody will accept their offer, they'll apply for the first tranche of their offer. They might be done at that, or they might have more to add after that. So you can have as many phases in place as you want, so you can keep going. And you might, if you have a limit of 5, if you say all your payments must be done in a maximum of 5 tranches, then you'll have 5 claim phases that you can push people through. I see Neil put your hand up there.
Hi, thank you very much. Thank you, Neil, for your presentation. My apologies, I was a little late coming into the meeting. I couldn't get access to Zoom, but can I just ask you a couple of things? You may have already answered this question. Is there a limit on the number of applications you can input per scheme? Where I'm in Dublin City Council and we would have maybe 80 applications per year. And I'm just wondering if that has an impact in terms of the speed with which the programme can function. I'm just thinking about, so websites, sometimes the more information that's on a website, the slower it operates. I'm just wondering if that has an impact. Or if it's on a different type of system.
Perfect. Yeah, I take that. No, it has no impact on cost or performance. We cut our teeth 10 years ago in reality TV, of all things, where you would have tens of thousands of applicants uploading videos and audition videos and all sorts of things simultaneously in America.
Okay, very good.
So we've huge power behind the system. It's another string to our bow that I don't normally bring up when we're talking to local
That was Ireland's fittest family. He's on about there.
We wouldn't have had that volume in Ireland, but we did things like Married at First Sight in the States. We're much more data intensive than what authorities are dealing with, and much higher volume and much more rushed as regards concurrent users of the system. So it's 80 is tiny relative.
It's tiny.
Yeah. And
no,
again,
that's great, thank you.
Most people in local authorities, again, they're uploading data, images, the odd video. It's there's no performance issues like that.
Great, thank you very much.
That was a question that came through, Neil, because again, can the software handle multi-year grants?
Yeah, but that's again, multi-year grants is
the other scheme
broad, I suppose. Again, you can have usually what you would do is you would have, if you go back to my schemes here, you'll see that I've Built Heritage Investment Scheme. I'm going to call that Built Heritage Investment Scheme 2023. Okay, so I'm going to 2023, and now I'm going to add a new scheme, and I'm going to just make a copy of that. So that's over and done with. You want to keep the 2023 applicants in the one place. I'm going to create a new scheme. And I'm just going to save my typing, PHIS to 2024. But I'm going to use the Built Heritage Investment Scheme 2023 as a template and create it. And that basically is how people do multi-year schemes. You run it 1 year, you'll probably have a deadline on these multi-year schemes. And next year, create from template, update the dates and the description, and off you go again.
Okay, and I'm just the part B of that, right? And I'll let you off and finish your demo. Then is in terms of that multi-phase or the multi-year grants. That can we have, we say, the historic structure fund, the Built Heritage Investment Schemes, the community management funds, the local community heritage and biodiversity grant, all under the one roof here on this platform.
Oh, absolutely. You can make as depending on your license. Like our licenses depend on the number of grants or number of forms you put on the platform, but you can have as many grants as you want on the same platform, and you can grant access to the relevant team to each one.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let you go on and continue with your demo. Doing great.
I might jump into reporting there just because I promised people that I'd be out of here before an hour is up, because I know your time is precious. But I'm going to jump into reporting. Okay, within reporting, you've got an overview. So this is an overview of the workspace, how many registrations you have, and so on. What your grants breakdown across all schemes on the platform. Then, if I want to get a breakdown by scheme, this is where it gets kind of more interesting. Go into my Built Heritage Investment Scheme. I can see the specific grant breakdowns and so on that. And I'm going to start with question breakdowns. If you want to generate statistics based on questions on the form. So I can go applications, and I want to go by status first of all, or I want to see over time. If I change that to days, I can see the pattern of applications as they come in. Now, obviously, I don't have a huge amount of applications, but these patterns tend to repeat year on year. So it's often very useful to look back at last year's. You're kind of sweating there, and Jesus, nobody has applied for this yet this year. And you go back to last year and you realize they'll all come in the next few days. If I go into the question breakdowns, So if I go any yes, no, multiple choice, multiple select question, you can generate graphs and maps, and you can filter those. So, and you can change them from pie charts to bar charts. Now, you'll notice here there's these square brackets. That's because this question is presented differently on the form to each user. It's, are you Joe Bloggs, the owner of the property? Are you Neil O'Driscoll, the owner? And that's why that syntax is there, because the question is typed like that so that it spits out a personalized question to each one. Within each question, I can filter. So if I go to take another question here, we asked for the error code. Spits out a map of where my applications are. If I click on any one, it shows me the name. If I click on the name, it will bring me to that application. But I can filter that. So I can say, I don't want to look at the draft ones. I just want to look at the complete ones. I don't want to look at ones. I just want to look at the ones who I put a tag on. So anyone who's eligible. There's 4. And I also want to say, okay, I want just the ones who are eligible and approved. There's 3. Okay, so, and I can even filter by with or without tags. I can filter by date, so I can put in date ranges on my graphs and maps. I can export all of these as well, so I can download and export my resultant report. And I can filter even by answers to other questions. So if I go in here, advanced filtering, I can filter that map or graph by answers to, we'll say, is the structure a protected structure? If people said no, search that. I'm down to 2. So these are obviously within this scheme, they're proposed protected structures rather than actual protected structures. So that's graphs and maps. You can delve very deep into your data here very, very quickly based on any question, any answer in the form. You can go into if I go into my summary here, a lot of people want to export, and this touches on the question that I had from Cork City Council earlier about manipulating grant tracking information in bulk. So you've gone through your first pass on all your applicants, and then you want to kind of take 5% off all of them so that you fit within the budget, or you redistribute the remainder or whatever. So I can generate an Excel sheet, effectively a CSV export, with 1 row per application and 1 column per piece of data. And within this, I can include all the metadata about the application, all the actions that are done by the administrators, such as tagging, scoring, grant tracking, commenting, all of that kind of stuff, and any answer that the candidate gives within the form. So I can choose this blue button here. I can choose the data I want to include on my spreadsheet before I export it. So properties of the application, all of this kind of information, and the actions, scoring, and comments, and so on. Click or unclick anything. The questions within the form. So on this, I've just clicked, short description. If I wanted to say the name and address of the structure as well, and so on and so forth. And likewise, I can include the office use only section. So here I've included the assessment of the proposed project. This is done by the person within the local authority. So I close that, generate my report, and I've got another section here for comments. This is a comment I put on about 10 minutes ago on Kieran O'Driscoll's application. So I can scroll across. That's my report. Again, just like every other report, I can filter this by have this spreadsheet based on tag. So if I only want to use it for the approved ones, I only want to generate it for the approved applications, click there, generate it, and I've only got the three results. Okay, so these, I could spend a bit longer going into reporting and what you can do in it, but it's very, very powerful to get to know your applicants, get to know where your money is going, particularly with reference to local authorities. In lots of cases, people will add a question to the form saying, what municipal district are you in? So that when your county councillor comes to you asking how much money went to my particular area, you have it at the tip of your finger, and very easy to give them a report showing them a map of the applications that got funding in their particular area. Basically filtering your map by the answer to that multiple choice question. I might pause for questions again there, if anybody has any.
Yeah, the question came through there, Neil, again, sorry, and I'll throw it open to our attendees. And how many people can use this in-house? in a local government or a local authority.
Yeah, there's no limit. So we have various licenses with various local authorities at the moment, going from anything from 5 staff accounts up to close to 100. I think in one of our bigger customers, there's about 100 staff accounts. So when we license Submit.com to you, we give you the domain, we give you your quote. As soon as we get a PO back, we'll build your domain, and that domain will have restrictions on 2 key items: the number of staff accounts and the number of live forms. I don't think that was me. But live and the number of live forms, and by live schemes, I mean schemes that haven't been archived, because most, not all, but most local authority schemes tend to run annually. So you'll have a 2023 iteration of a project. It'll have its deadline, applications come in, you'll administer the funds and so on, and you'll close it down. Then you'll archive that and create a new one for 2024. So the number of schemes, the number of live schemes in the platform tends to approach a limit over time. So maybe Arthi has a question.
Can I just ask, sorry, that's linked to my previous question there about the number of people using the program in-house. How many can use it at the same time? I mean, if there are 2 or 3 officers working on a scheme, can they all work at the same time on the program, or does there need to be one kind of owner?
Oh no, there's multiple, as many as you want, basically. Yeah, so you can. We've had teams of 50 working on one scheme at the one time in various scenarios. No limit. Again, you're in control of what every team member can do, but there is no limit on concurrency.
Just Neil and Dean, maybe there's some questions coming up on the screen there that maybe you haven't seen. Can you answer those?
Oh yeah. So I've got the one from Neil, and then can we add a progress report in the stages from Carmel? Yes, absolutely. Again, a progress report is another form where you're asking questions, asking the candidate to itemize what progress they have made. It's another phase, and you can have you could have quarterly progress reports, annual progress reports, you name it. Whatever you currently collect on paper, you can build in as a phase into the form. Does that answer that question? And I'm after losing my chat, so if somebody, I'm after burying it, so if somebody could read out the next question to me, that'd be great.
Yeah, because we've had a lot of flooding down here, so we have issues with maybe with broadband and with internet. Just in terms of another question that come through there, Neil, and something that in our invite to get people attending today, some people have said, "Oh, we have the form online. It's the government form that's online." But Submit does a lot more than that, does it? In terms of you have to print the form, it's a PDF, you have to print it, you have to attach all your documentation, yeah?
Yeah, I suppose like there's various local authorities in the country that we do business with at the moment that would have kind of considered themselves to be online. They have a lovely front end. You can sort and filter your forms online, but then when it comes to it, you're downloading a form and doing it offline. And with that, we wouldn't class that as being properly digitized, to be honest, particularly if you have to start printing stuff, or even if you're typing out a Word form offline. It doesn't give you the power of kind of accessing stuff in real time. It doesn't help you with liaising with the applicant if they have a problem midway through their application and so on. There's countless examples of how it's much better to be in an online platform where the whole team responsible for a particular grant can access applications at every single stage, from midway through a draft through to the end.
Excellent. Okay, and just another question came through there on the chat side of it, being linked to Aggresso. Is Submit linked to Aggresso? Yeah,
so we have a full REST API for non-tech people here. That's basically a set of instructions, calls that you can make to export data from Submit.com to another platform. And we've worked with Jerry in Ascendus, a lot of you works with most local authorities in Ireland as regards managing their Aggresso systems. Those of you who are using Aggresso, which is the vast majority, and it works very well for things like might be creating a new supplier account, might be automatically pulling data through when you apply a tag for approval, and with grant tracking information, send that use our API to send that through to any third-party platform. It doesn't have to be Aggresso. And I see Mary Liz McCarthy has her hand up there for a long time. Mary Liz, sorry.
Hi. No problem, thank you. Yeah, I suppose I've got a couple of questions. One of them is kind of a follow-on from me. I'm also in Dublin City Council with me and the multiple users using this platform. So from our perspective, when we were assessing our applications, there could be like 3 people assessing each application. We tried to get like 3 people on each application, and then as a mean, did a mean average then as the scoring. Is that possible to facilitate that within it at the assessment point, that like 3 people could submit a different assessment score, and then we generate a score at the mean average of the score from that for each application?
Yeah, that's all built in automatically.
Okay.
So like if I go into, if I don't have it done here, but if I look at Joe Kelly and I go to manage and I look at scoring, only one person has scored Joe, but this average and this average 76% and the overall total is all users. So if I click in here, I see which evaluator gave which score to each score bar. So obviously in this case, I'm the only person who has an average, but if you had 3 of them, it would be Neil submitted min, Mary submitted min, and Tim submitted min, each with their individual scores, and the score displayed there would be the average of all 3.
Okay. Great.
Again, you've all your sort and filtering. You can form your league table by ordering by highest score first and so on based on these scores. So whatever way you want to play it with scoring, some people will have a team of people that will do their individual scores, and then they might have a kind of a consensus score where a chair of a meeting will give one consensus score at the end, or others would like to score blind from each other and automatically calculate the totals.
Okay, great. And just one final question. From an applicant's point of view, is it possible to do this through a mobile device? Like, is it friendly on a mobile device? Because obviously you might have people that don't have access to computers and stuff like that. So it's...
Yeah, and it's something we were very conscious of with designing this. It's built mobile first for applicants, and that's one of the reasons we one application question per page. It's primarily built for mobile. Like it's when I was in looking at my I'll give you a quick preview of what it looks like on mobile, just to give a sense of it. So I have the draft here for the Built Heritage Investment Scheme. If I continue, so as I said, we've 1 question per page. Bear with me a second. We go do that and do that. It's answer the question, move to the next one, upload my file. You know, it works just as well on mobile as it does on you know, so you can toggle your list of questions here on the left. Go back to answering your individual questions, your tables and so on. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I mean, getting more and more of that. I mean, a few years, we've been doing this a long time, but a few years ago, people were much more likely to sit at a computer to do particularly grant applications, but we are getting more and more people doing it on mobile, which I suppose is testament to the change in the world, but it's also a testament to our developers' work in ensuring that this is properly usable on mobile for complex forms.
I think there's another question in chat there, Neil. Can you see it? Or
I can now, yeah. I found myself again, Tomás.
Yeah.
So can we make our recoupment claims be submittable? That's from Deirdre. Can you Deirdre Burns, can you clarify that for me, Deirdre, exactly what you mean?
Hi, Neil. When we're making our recoupment claims to the department, are the department using the system, or we still have to fill in the form, the Excel, and do it all that way? Yeah,
you can more than likely you won't get the department to use this system. More than likely you'll be exporting a spreadsheet of the data from this and then filling in the department forms. Now it depends on your own relationship with the department and how fussy they are as regards the format of what they want. You'd probably be able to cut out a lot of the work, and if they're happy to take a spreadsheet of your, but I'd say realistically no is the answer to that.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Anybody else want to put their hand up for a question?
I have one from Sharon here. Is there a service account for each individual use within a council, i.e. Heritage Grant versus Vacant Homes Grant by different teams? And does this impact on the quote? Or could you have one service account with multiple users? Okay, so we can do it which way, I suppose. We've sold to individual departments. We've sold with a limit on the number of forms. I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
Sorry, I'll come in there, Neil. Yeah, it's
do
just I can see a number of uses for it here. So heritage grants would be one, and maybe vacant homes grants would be another one, and it seems to be quite flexible. So it's just how it works in terms of the cost of the service, pending how you use it. So if we're using it for 3 or 4 different things, are we creating one service account? Are we creating multiple service accounts? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, gotcha. Sorry, it's primarily the cost. Yeah, so we can do it, and I was trying to interpret your question. I think I got it right the first time, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And we can do it whichever way we want. We can give an unlimited license to a department, an unlimited license to a council, or a license for a particular number of schemes, irrespective of what departments they fall under. So we might say if you wanted to do 5 different schemes, you know, the heritage grants, vacant homes, and 3 others, we give you a license for 5 schemes and X number of admin users, and then you can control who sees what.
Very
So
good.
there's,
Thanks.
you know, if you get in touch with Tomás or myself, we can kind of talk about. We could send you a pricing matrix possibly for, you know, depending on what your needs are, what you're considering using it for, whether it's one department, a small number of forms, or we can send you a quote for. So have a chat with us. I'll put up the contact details after this and have a chat with us. And
that's brilliant, Neil. I'm just conscious of time, and we said we might keep them for 1 hour in terms of that. Just one question that's coming in terms of the training and the management. What does Submit offer to people in the
I suppose that's very important part of our offering. We're a small company based in Cork. We always include training and onboarding as part of the package. There's no hidden costs. You have an annual license, no setup fees, no training fees, no storage fees, and we'll always pride ourselves in going over and above with training, because it's in our interest to get you using this to the best of your ability. So you'll be talking to real people. It's all built by our own developers in Submit.com. You won't be talking to any bots at any stage. So generally what happens is we get a PO issued, we'll build your domain straight away. I mean, by straight away, I mean within 24 hours, and if we can, if you're saying, you know, if we'll say it's that built heritage investment scheme as an example, we'll more than likely have a template of that to import into the platform. Now, every local authority might want a slightly different implementation of it. So we'll then schedule our first call with you, which will be going through that line by line to make sure that you're happy with that form, to talk to you about your workflows and build those workflows into it. Once that's done, we'll do another session with the wider team to actually train them in what they need to do as regards managing applications as they come in. There's generally, with most local authority packages we give, there's probably four training sessions included. Now we need to put a limit on them to protect ourselves, but it's rare enough, to be honest, unless that I'll charge for my time in training you. Beyond that, if it's reasonable.
He's very cheap, everybody. He's not expensive. He's not expensive. One last question, right? Can I just ask you, Neil, in terms of how long would it take for somebody to go live with Submit?
Yeah, that's.
And because the reason I'm asking you that, because there is a lot coming from government bodies, government departments. I see, and the money and the funding, the grants they want to get beat. And we've seen this from local authorities. People are saying, "Oh, the money's there. Just do it. Get it done. Get it up in the system. Get it live."
Yeah, and it's a great question, because there's often a fear when buying software that I'm undertaking a project in itself here to use the software, and that's often a barrier. Whereas, as I said, if you have a chat with us, we'd have the domain live within 24 hours. It might take a week to have the forms built, the first couple of forms built, and have them reviewed between ourselves and yourselves, so that we're all happy to make them go live. So at a rush, a week. More comfortable times would be maybe 2 weeks. To have a scheme properly live that you're happy with.
Excellent. Just going to conclude, unless anybody, final question from anybody. Are you all happy?
Perfect. Well, you've got the contact details on the screen, so
yeah. So look, just want to conclude, and I just want to thank you all for attending. I hope you found it worthwhile. I mentioned at the start the why, the what, the who, the when, and where. We can talk to you at any time you want. Give us a call. But I especially want to thank Neil. I think I get very comfortable when I bring this guy on demos because of his expertise and the way he delivers the demos. He's a professional in what he does, and any queries, come back to me or come back to Neil. So thank you very much for attending, and that's from everybody within the Submit.com team. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.